Welcome to this OpenText World presentation. In the next 15 minutes, we're going to introduce you to two applications which are currently available in beta, which will help you speed up the time it takes to build an application using the IMaaS services and administer it. My name is Claire Denton. I used to be a web application developer, but now I'm actually helping optimize the developer experience for OpenText. I'm going to be introducing you to the Cloud Administrator, which helps you administer the IMaaS service applications that you build. And my colleague Gino Vicari is going to be showing you how to build with the developer tools in VS Code. Before we get started, I want to kind of basically orientate you a little bit. So these are the services that are available for you to actually build with. The top row is the list of IMaaS services and APIs that are available on the developer plan. These are basically kind of building blocks which we've put together we think will be really great for you to build any content-centric or process-centric application. The names do kind of really tell you what they do, but for example, the capture service is a best-of-breed OCR application which helps you extract metadata from any kind of document, and then you can store that in our content service repository with our content services. And then you can automate the different workflow processes with the workflow service. And if you want to use the risk guard service, for example, to go across all the files in the content service and find information in images and files which can relate to PII or any kind of malicious data. So it's really an interesting building block of services. We also have services available for developers to extend our SaaS applications and configure our SaaS applications, such as core content and core case. So all of these can be used and built with the developer tools and administered with the Cloud Administrator. And they're currently able to be used in both North America and Europe. Where do you find out about these services? So one of the things we've done to help speed up time is to improve the layout of the developer site. So if you go to developer.opentext.com, you'll be able to find information on all these services. And we've introduced a product and service area, which really pulls all this content together. We've been getting feedback that we've got some good tutorials, some good API specs, but they're all in different locations. So what we've done, the last release was to basically pull all that content together in one place. So if you go to products and services, you can find all the information that you need in one location. We've even pulled in relevant community posts into this area. The other thing we've done is introduce interactive documentation. So if you have started a developer trial through the developer site, you can then use the service clients that you generate to then use the interactive documentation and test all of the requests and responses for the different resources for the services that you're interested in. So great place to get started. Okay, now to get to the main section of this presentation, to introduce you to the first of the products that's going to help you speed up what you're doing. And this is the Cloud Administrator. It's currently in beta and it's available to try by using the preview link in the developer console. This screenshot basically shows an organization level view of it. That's the highest level. As a developer, you'll have administrator rights at the organization level. And this is for a company called GoSmart. And in this interface, you can basically see at the organization level, you can manage your service clients, which gives you access to be able to call our management services, our admin APIs, allow you to do an awful lot of configuration via API versus UI. And you can also see all of the applications and tenants that are available in your organization, as well as looking at your plan information and overall usage. So this is an interface that's been built to enable people who have basically purchased our SaaS applications and also just the standalone IMaaS services. So it covers both all in one place. You can do tenant, plan and application management. Before we've had some different UIs. This is a way of pulling everything together in a more structured hierarchical experience with a consistent UI. So this is a screenshot of what the interface looks like at the application level when you're still an organization administrator. And this shows you the extension applications that you would actually build if you'd chosen to have a developer basically extend or configure one of the core SaaS applications. And this is the view, back to Go Smart again, of some standalone applications that have been built in the interface. And this is what it looks like once you've actually drilled into one of the applications. And one thing I want to basically point out here, these applications are multi-tenanted. So while you're in this view of the cloud administrator, you can basically look at all your overall usage of this application over multiple tenants. And you can see all of the tenants of which a subscription has been applied, as well as change basic metadata. You can look at the service client credentials if you want to revoke or regenerate any service clients at any point. You can also look at usage over different periods of time and associate the application with other tenants. So it's a very powerful interface. So this is a view a level lower down. So this is looking at the tenants actually in the organization, and you can see here that this is Go Smart's kind of development section. So they've got a development, a pre-prod and a QA tenant with the subscriptions of the applications associated, and you can create new tenants in this instance or delete tenants. So it's very flexible for you to build out the environment you want to do your development and administration. So this is going down into an individual tenant, and it shows you can actually configure the tenant administrators that are available, able to actually administer. And then going down one more level, you can basically see this is at the application subscription level. And here you create some test users if you want to, if you're still in that development lifecycle, or if you've actually pushed your application subscription into a customer's tenant and you're commercializing. This is where you or they, as a tenant administrator, could actually configure all their end users that are going to use this application. So, doing a bit of a summary. This is the new cloud administration interface. It's in beta. And you can try it by going to the preview link in the developer console. It's a simplified view, hierarchical, consistent user experience. It's a persona-driven, entitlement-driven application, able to support end users in different roles, such as tenant admin, org admin, and subscription admin. And it's also got quite an aggressive roadmap. As I said, it's still in beta. We're going to be adding some plan management functionality, so you can go into more detail on managing your plans and your accounts. We're also going to add the application lifecycle management, so you can manage the lifecycle of your service artifacts as well through this UI. Okay, so that's my deep dive in a few minutes into the cloud administrator. I'm now going to hand over to Gino to talk about the developer tools.
Thank you, Claire. So what I'm going to talk about today is the IMaaS Developer Integrated Development Environment, or short IDE. To support the developer with this single environment to build application on top of the OpenText IMaaS or information management as a service, APIs and corresponding services to simplify the development experience, if you will, and the development process, and so to speed up value and time to value. To achieve this, given its extreme popularity amongst developers, we have chosen Visual Studio Code, and we're providing our IMaaS tools, or so-called Visual Studio Code extension pack for IMaaS, so our IMaaS tools, directly inside of Visual Studio Code. We certainly recommend you try it out, as it is available to be installed in Visual Studio Code for beta testing. So we have a beta program running. You can directly download it from the Visual Studio Code marketplace. And as you can see in the screenshot on the right, they are available and you can just try them out. Also, as part of our beta program, we have created a focus group. So you can, if you're interested, provide us some additional perspective or try to be an early adopter. And in that context, don't hesitate to drop us an email at otdeveloper@opentext.com with IMaaS beta in the subject line. So what happens when you are in our development environment? Well, the first thing you see directly integrated in Visual Studio Code is the IMaaS tools extension pack view. with 3 different sections. So it provides a first section, which is about everything related to subscription functionality or organization level functionality. You have a level that's more about the project, the models, the configuration artifacts, if you will, for your project and for your application. And then you have a third section, which is all about helping yourself. So it's all with, you know, the help and feedback, which is providing you with a user guide, a tutorial, and it also allows you to, you know, to create or to report on issues and even suggesting features if you would want to. What I have to say, though, is that I highly recommend you start with the tutorial because it's an exhaustive walkthrough of everything you can do and how to actually develop an application on top of our IMaaS APIs and services. So let's now have a quick look at the subscription level and how you actually configure that. So that level is the configuration of your organization connection. And you do that by filling the organization name, but also all the organization connection credentials. Once you're authenticated, you can then start deploying your application. But obviously, before you can do that, you need to start building it. And that's the first step you actually do when you enter the application building process, also described in the tutorial. So let's have a look at that process. The first step being creating the application itself, creating the placeholder for the application, where you fill the project name, the application name, the description, and so on. Next to that, you know, all that description, you can then, when you set up the project, save it, and this will trigger the creation of the project inside of your workspace in Visual Studio Code. From the moment your project is created, you will see that there's a model explorer where you can create new models. More specifically, you can create 4 types of models in that model explorer: namespace, trait, type, and ultimately workflow. Let's take a look at those. So first, the namespace. The namespace allows you to group your different application artifacts or your application models together and isolate them. For example, in the context of your application, here we have indeed, for example, showing a namespace for a contract approval application. Secondly, types and traits are fairly similar, so let's focus on a type definition. A type definition is the main configuration artifact to build your application's domain model. For example, for a contract approval app, a very important type, I would say, is obviously the contract itself with its different attributes. Another key element would be the workflow or workflow definition. And so here you would be building more the dynamic bit of your application, the different workflows that make out your application. And again, in the context of a contract approval application, this could be the actual contract approval workflow. Once you've done building all your different configuration artifacts, you will see that the model explorer tree, if you will, has been populated with all those models, and it shows them based on their namespace and their name. So it actually combines the namespace with the name of the artifact or the model, because a model is unique within its namespace. So it allows you to uniquely browse all the models in your project. If as a developer, and that happens more often than not, you are used to use the file explorer view of Visual Studio Code, which is a very common way of working. We've also provided all the means to develop your models there. As you can see, there's an OT resources folder that contains all the files that represent your models. And you also have the options to create new models or to edit the project properties, or even to deploy what you build. So the next step is to deploy your project into your IMaaS organization or your developer organization. And that actually takes us back to what you've seen in the beginning from Claire's presentation. You deploy it and you can see it from within the Cloud Administrator view, where you can then add users to your application or manage the application or even monitor the services and API consumption. That's my bit, Claire. Back to you.
Great, thank you, Gino. Okay, so just to conclude, what's next? So Gino's going to be adding some more modelers to the VS Code extension packs, and I'm going to be working on adding plan management and ALM into the Cloud Administrator. Both products have beta programs, which we've been mentioning, so please don't hesitate and you try them. For OpenText World, what's next? Well, we've definitely got the Developer Lab, which I really recommend you going to see and to actually participate in. This is a hands-on session. Dino and the team are actually running it, and you can actually play with the VS Code extensions and ask questions during those sessions. So definitely recommend those labs. And there's also some breakout sessions that I recommend you go and see, which again focus on using the developer services that I've been mentioning in different ways.